We're here with Lee Broekman, a former Ambassadorial Scholar, and we're going to learn about the Ambassadorial Scholar program today and Lee's experience. Thank you for doing this with us.
Of course.
What is an Ambassadorial Scholar in Rotary?
Yeah, it sounds very official. It's a scholar, basically, a student I was at the time, and most are students, postgraduate who goes abroad to whatever different country, and for me it happened to be the Netherlands, and represents American, in my case, culture, policy, and society in talks to Rotary clubs in Amsterdam, and then returns after a year and talks about Dutch, in my case, policy, culture, and society to American clubs. And so I think one of the names is Ambassador of Goodwill. You go representing your country and wanting to create better relations and friendships and mutual understanding.
How did you find the Ambassadorial Scholarship program? You were living out here in California at the time, so how did you come to this program?
I was living in Los Angeles. I was working for a local Los Angeles City Council member, and I was interested in going abroad. And a very good friend from high school happened to call me, who was at Berkeley at the time, and said, let's go and have dinner. And then she told me that she had just returned from Spain, where she served as an ambassadorial scholar. And I said, wow, that sounds so official and amazing. And what is this? And she said, oh, it's, Rotary International. And I didn't even know what Rotary was. But the very next day, that stayed with me. And at work, in between meetings that I guess were not so much fun, I decided I'm going to do that abroad thing. And I went online, and before I knew it, I went to the Westwood Village Rotary Club, where they told me all about this program, and within a year, there I was in the Netherlands.
So you had to apply to
Yes.
be accepted as part of this. Were you interviewed by Rotarians in Westwood Village?
Yeah, there were several. I believe there were 3 levels of interviews at the local club level, Westwood Village Rotary Club, and then there was a district level interview, and I believe there was a phone-based international interview. This is over a decade ago at this point, but it was quite a process, but one that was well worth it, and it was fun. I mean, it was writing about myself and my intentions and why I wanted to go out in the world. And the thing that attracted me to this type of a broad experience more than others is that it was made very clear that it wasn't just about me. It wasn't about me going and studying something and traveling somewhere. There was this added component of you're going to go and represent the U.S., and we want you to study, but it's not really about getting a degree. It's about meeting people and putting yourself out there. And the whole time that I was in the Netherlands, I had this aura about me of, I'm here as a representative. And in classes, when they would say something like, what is the American point of view on X? Which I always thought was funny because who am I to represent the entire United States? And then I would remember, but I am here on behalf of Rotary and the Westwood Village Rotary Club, so this is what some Americans believe, and this is what others may follow. So
you have to represent all sides, all parts of American culture.
Yeah.
And of course, ambassadorial scholars also come from other countries to the United States. It's not a United States-centered program. Scholars go from one country to another wherever they are.
Yes.
I recall you have met at least one ambassadorial scholar from another country who was over here from Germany.
Mm-hmm.
So the different experiences have been a lot of fun. What were you studying when you went on the scholarship, and how did you come to Amsterdam where you went? Did you have a choice of where you would go, or were you given a few options?
Okay, so I remember that there was, I needed to speak the language of the country that I was going to study in. But I found a loophole because there was the international, the International School of Humanities and Social Sciences at the University of Amsterdam, where instruction was in English at the graduate level. and I studied European Communication Studies. I knew I wanted to go to Western Europe, and I also knew that there were many scholars who wanted to study in London or in Paris. And so I was trying to choose a place that didn't have so many representatives from the U.S., and where I could build goodwill and enhance Rotary's mission of service above self and all that. So my husband's family is from the Netherlands originally, and so I got to visit Holland once before, very briefly, and I knew it was a place I wanted to spend more time in. It's a postcard city, it's beautiful, it's accessible to all of these other places, and I decided on European Communication Studies because at that point I'd already been accepted to the Annenberg School for Communication at USC to begin my master's in communication, and I was able to defer that acceptance and go and study European Communication Studies and then transfer my courses.
And come back to USC even though you don't play football?
They took me anyway.
Wow.
But I did TA in the undergraduate and teach many football players.
So there's a connection.
So there is a connection.
USC is all right. I feel better. I'm a Bruins fan, but that's a different issue.
Okay.
So you got to Amsterdam. When was this? What year was this?
This was 2001.
So it was for the academic year 2001-2002.
Correct.
In Amsterdam.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't there very long then when something a little bit interesting happened in the world.
Yeah.
Tell us about that.
The tragic events of 9/11 happened the very same day of my welcome students orientation at the University of Amsterdam. And just a month prior to that, I was visiting New York and took all the pictures with the Twin Towers. This is before digital camera days, if you can imagine. So we developed the pictures after this happened and saw the pictures. It was unreal, surreal. Not being in my country and seeing what happened unfold on television, which I hadn't yet figured out how to program CNN in my apartment. And so it was a Dutch broadcasting channel, and I was just starting to learn how to speak Dutch. And there was a Dutch broadcaster with the Twin Towers behind him in flames. And I had no idea what was going on, and I thought it was a movie, that they were talking about. And I heard some people here in the States thought the same thing was happening. And when I walked to the university, it was about 5 p.m. in Amsterdam when I found out, and walked to the university, all the students there embraced me and said, "We're so sorry about what happened in your country." And the very next day, American flags went up all over Amsterdam for the Dutch to show solidarity with the U.S. and saying, you saved us when it was World War II, and we're here for you now. And it was unreal. And my view from my window was the same view that I lived on the Princes Canal. In Dutch, they call it the Prinsensgracht. And this is where Anne Frank had also lived a couple buildings down. And I kept thinking, this is the view she had from her window when the world changed. And now I have this view from my window. And I came here for this year of fun and celebration. And all those skills that I learned in the year leading up to my ambassadorial scholarship in Rotary had to come to very quickly. And all of a sudden I had to pull together and put together some important and momentous events for the Americans living in Europe to represent what was going on in the U.S. And it was tragic, it was sad, but it was also so incredibly meaningful and put this incredible tone on the whole year as something significant, and it was interesting to see it in this international eyes, and for me to really feel so patriotic and American being out of my country when this was going on.
It's an interesting time to have ambassador as part of your official sounding title.
Absolutely.
What types of events did you put together for the Americans and everyone around you?
There was a memorial service that the university was so incredible. When I went to the University of Amsterdam and told them that I was an ambassadorial scholar representing Rotary International, and this is what I wanted to do, just 2 days after this happened, they just opened up every resource imaginable and took us to this beautiful building that is only lit by candles and said, the last American who spoke here is Hillary Clinton, and we'd like to open this up to you and whatever you need. And they published it in the newspaper, and I had American diplomats and quote-unquote real ambassadors representing the U.S. come and give talks, and students came in with white roses, students who were both American studying abroad and students who are part of the International School for Humanities and Social Sciences from all over, from Australia, from Denmark, from Norway, from Germany. It was so incredible because this was September, and school had started in September. And this really just brought us all together in an unbelievable way, and we filled up this gorgeous space, and people stood up and gave poems and talks, and I did the opening and the closing, and it provided this space where people can share and express solidarity and connectedness and mutual understanding and all of the missions of Rotary, really, and the Ambassadorial scholarship. And after that, it was a year long of being connected to people, and not just a year long because it's a decade later and I'm still very much in touch with all of those people. And I don't know that any other events would have brought us together in such a way. So events such as that, and then it gave way also to a lot of intercultural dialogue and interfaith dialogues throughout the year, with 9/11 as a backdrop and as a catalyst for these discussions, and then it moved on to all sorts of other political and social and cultural discussions.
Opening a lot of doors.
Yeah.
While you were, as part of your scholarship, you also have certain Rotary responsibilities.
Yes.
Specifically with Rotary clubs in your host country, and then, as you said, then you also had to come back here and teach us some of what you had learned. What were your experiences with the Rotary clubs in the Amsterdam area?
So prior to leaving, I had a sponsor Rotary counselor, who for a year long just took me through and prepared me. And then when I arrived in Amsterdam, I was immediately greeted by my host counselor, who was an MD in a Rotary club in Amsterdam. And he opened the doors to all of these other clubs, and my responsibility was to go to between 10 and 15 Rotary clubs in the Netherlands. And for me, the fun thing that I got to do is also travel so much within Europe, because Amsterdam is, an hour away from London, and 4 hours by plane, and 4 hours away from Paris by train. And I got to go to Barcelona and all these other places. And when I did go to Belgium and England and Spain and France, I went to those Rotary clubs as well, and spoke there. And they're always so excited about, oh, you're an ambassadorial scholar, of course, come. And they schedule you right away to come and speak to the club. So can I show you what I have?
Yeah.
So this is the fun ambassadorial official part. I got to go in representing the Westwood Village Rotary Club. And
every Rotary club in the world has trading banners just like this one.
Yeah.
So whether you're an ambassadorial scholar or not, one of the fun things is if you just randomly go from your Rotary club to visit another one, you'll often trade banners. So this is the Westwood Village from your sponsor club here.
Yes, and for an entire year, while it's a year abroad, it's a 3-year commitment and involvement. So for a year prior, I attended a lot of Westwood Village Rotary Club activities and talks, and really felt a sense of ownership in this club. It was my home club. I still feel this deep connection to it, and anytime I want to go right away, they greet me, and it's very nice. So these Rotary clubs abroad were so interested in what happens at the Westwood Village Rotary Club. And of course, it's part of District, I believe, 5280. And I got to go to all of these other clubs within Los Angeles in this district. And so I got to tell them what it's like to attend clubs in Los Angeles and what they do and what the memberships are like. And they were fascinated to hear that, for example, there could be 100 members, whereas in an Amsterdam club on a canal, they had 5, and it was very familial. So basically I would go and talk to them about what it was like in the Westwood Village Rotary Club and what were some of the events and so forth, and then in the greater Los Angeles community and the greater American community too. And they would ask me questions, and I will also do a presentation that had visual components of, like I said before, American policy and culture and society. And I worked in politics and in communication, so I also got to speak about my involvement. And then when I went to the Amsterdam clubs, they would arm me with their own insignia and banners, and it was so nice, this connection right away of the Rotary wheel. And when I came back, and this is the 3rd year then, right? So I had the year before, the year during while I'm in Amsterdam, and then the year upon my return, I visited the Westwood Village Rotary Club and then attended 10 to 15, I believe it was 12, different clubs within the Los Angeles region, and brought back these different banners. What did you call them? I don't know.
Banners.
Trading banners.
You traded a Westwood Village
That's
banner.
right. That's right.
Got that one.
The trading banners, and I was armed with many, and I got to bring them, and I kept a couple for myself. And they gave me some duplicates, so that because I feel connected and have kept them all these years. And so I brought them along to the different clubs, and of course, on this other side, it was this fascinated interest of, tell us about Dutch policy, and what is this about everything being not necessarily legal but regulated, and how does that work there, and what is it really like, and what happens in the clubs, and so forth.
And if two people split the check, are they going us or going Dutch? How does that happen? I was curious about that.
Right, yeah.
So you have a year of training before you go. You have a year of actually scholaring,
Yes.
for want of a better verb.
Yes.
And then you have a year afterwards of sharing your experience from there. Have you had much connection with Rotary International, any of the alumni wings since then? They don't always do a good job of that, and we're trying to help all over the world gather that together, because we lose track of you sometimes.
Yes.
You don't want to lose track of good people.
Yeah, it would be nice to connect more regularly and formally, but I do, the year prior to going, there were many events in District 5280 that got about, I think, 10 of us together from Los Angeles who were going to different locations, so that we can share in this experience. And then we also got to meet the people who were visiting Los Angeles and were scholaring, as you mentioned, from different countries. And we were very much in touch. And now it's a little bit more sporadic and via email and internet, but it still happens. We're still in touch, and there's this bond because of what we shared that year. And this 3-year approach to it, I think, is so smart, and especially the year after, because of the closure and the connection that it provides you, because you're returning after this amazing year of adventure and learning, and you get to keep talking about it and sharing it. And I think that's a really important process that people in other international, abroad, scholarly, student, fellowship-oriented programs don't go through. They get to tell their friends and families about it, but it's not this like formal, let me now reflect in a thoughtful way and put it into presentations and get to keep connecting and talking about it and so forth. So, Rotary special.
Overall, an amazing experience.
Amazing.
So 2 more really important questions.
Mm-hmm.
Question number 1.
Yes.
What are you up to now? What do you do these days?
So these days I am a lecturer in the area of communication at American Jewish University, and occasionally I teach at USC at the Annenberg School for Communication at the Marshall School of Business. And I teach anywhere from 3 to 5 courses per semester in the areas of public speaking, which I got to practice a lot during my Rotary years, and also in persuasive communication and mass media and popular culture, courses like that. I also do executive coaching in the areas of communication and leadership with various companies in the areas of law and aerospace and nonprofit organizations, where I lead retreats and seminars and workshops to enhance communication skills in the workplace. And I just started my doctoral program in education, which is a joint program in New York between the Columbia Teachers College School of Education and the Davidson School of Education at the Jewish Theological Seminary. So every other month I fly to New York, which is kind of like an ambassadorial thing all over again, and get to study there and bring those studies back here.
So since Rotary, you've really done nothing. I'm sorry
Yes.
to hear that. And the second question is, how much Dutch did you end up speaking on the way out at the end of the year in Amsterdam, and how much do you still speak now?
Yeah, that's a very good question. Before I left, I did those Berlitz CD courses and got enough Dutch underway so that I can ask questions and say hello and be polite. And the funny thing is that in Rotary, generous Rotary, actually, in addition to my scholarship fund for my tuition and my housing and my flight, also paid for a Dutch language program so that I can go and brush up on my Dutch. What happened, to be very honest, is when I got there and started speaking a little Dutch, they would all smile and say, "Oh, that's so sweet. Let's speak English." The Dutch speak, I think, better English than, hopefully not offending anyone, many Americans do. They're a pretty savvy and sophisticated and an intelligent bunch, and their English is amazing. So the problem is, or the advantage, whichever perspective you want to adopt, is every time I would start out in Dutch, they would reply in English. Also at my university, all of the language of instruction is English, and so I actually had an advantage and wrote better than my professors and would actually help them edit their own research and scholarly writings. So I feel like I learned more Dutch on the way out than I did while I was there, unfortunately. But I got to learn some phrases, and Dutch is a fun language. Upon my return, it's not really a language like Spanish or French that you can find many people who speak it. So that's the honest answer.
So
not much.
The ultimate answer is you speak Rotary.
Yes, I
Well,
speak Rotary.
that's
That's a great.
all it
I
takes.
spoke Rotary.
Exactly.
Yes.
Lee Broekman, former ambassadorial scholar and still obviously Rotary person at heart.
Yes.
Thank you for being with our E-Club for this program. And,
Thank you.
We'll hopefully talk again soon.
Absolutely. It was fun. Thank you.